In the year 2147, humanity had spread across the stars. Earth, once a single world on the edge of the galaxy, now led a coalition of colonies in the far reaches of space. Technology had advanced, and the humans had learned to survive and thrive in the harsh conditions of deep space. They had made peace with many alien species, trading resources and knowledge. But there was one empire that refused to see humanity as an equal: the Galactic Empire. The Galactic Empire was a vast, powerful force that ruled over dozens of star systems. Its military might was unmatched, and its empire stretched across the galaxy like an iron fist. The leaders of the empire were cold, calculating, and merciless. They had conquered many species, wiping out civilizations that dared to challenge them. When they first heard of humanity, they thought it would be easy to crush the new young species. They underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, fight, and innovate. But as tensions grew between the Galactic Empire and humanity, something unexpected happened. The humans, knowing what was coming, made a bold decision. Instead of waiting for the Empire to attack, they decided to send a message. It was a warning, clear and direct. "We are coming. If you want to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, turn back now. The war will be unlike anything you've ever seen." The message was sent through every secure channel the humans had. It was broadcast across the galaxy, reaching the Emperor and his most trusted generals. The humans weren't hiding their intentions. They were making their stance clear. The Galactic Empire, however, only laughed. To them, this was nothing more than the desperate plea of a weaker species. The Empire had faced rebellions before, crushed countless enemies under the weight of their advanced technology. What could a few scattered human colonies possibly do against their immense power? The Emperor, a ruthless ruler named Zoreth, dismissed the warning as a mere joke. His advisors assured him that humanity had no chance against the might of the Galactic Empire. "We will crush them like all the others," Zoreth declared. He ordered his fleet to prepare for a campaign into human space, certain that it would be an easy victory. But the humans weren't just any other species. They were resourceful, brave, and determined. They had already begun to prepare, knowing the Empire would never take the warning seriously. While the Empire built its vast fleet, the humans worked in secret. Scientists and engineers from every human colony came together, developing technologies that would make their ships and weapons stronger, faster, and more unpredictable than anything the Empire had ever faced. Though the human fleet was small compared to the Empire's, it was made up of experienced soldiers and pilots who had fought in countless skirmishes. The human military had perfected tactics of surprise, deception, and speed. They knew how to fight without the overwhelming strength that the Empire relied on. Instead, they used their minds, their ingenuity, and their will to win. They had learned from every encounter with alien species, and they understood that sometimes the most powerful weapon wasn't the largest ship or the deadliest weapon. It was the heart of those who fought. As the Empire prepared for war, the humans did everything they could to strengthen their defenses. They built alliances with other species that had also suffered under the Empire's rule. They trained new soldiers, equipped their ships with experimental weapons, and gathered intelligence on the Empire's weaknesses. The warning they had sent wasn't just a threat. It was a declaration of a new kind of power. The Empire had been warned, but they had chosen to ignore it. Despite their preparations, the humans knew that the battle ahead would not be easy. The Galactic Empire was a force to be reckoned with, and the cost of war would be high. But there was no turning back now. Humanity had made its choice. They would fight for their future, and they would not bow to an empire that thought it could rule the galaxy through fear. The warning had been sent, and the Empire had ignored it. Soon, the two forces would clash, and the galaxy would witness the first true battle between the might of the Galactic Empire and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The humans had warned them to run. The Empire didn't listen. And now, they would face the consequences. The first clash between humanity and the Galactic Empire happened on the outskirts of Terran space, at a place humans called the Edge of Silence. It was a remote part of the galaxy, far from Earth and the major human colonies. The perfect place for an ambush. The Empire's fleet, led by Admiral Korath, a battle-hardened leader known for his cold tactics, had just crossed into human-controlled space. They were confident, perhaps overconfident, that this would be a simple conquest. Korath's fleet was massive. Dozens of warships, each the size of small moons, armed with the most advanced weapons the Empire had. The fleet moved in a tight formation, their huge battleships like unmovable walls of firepower. Their mission was clear: destroy any human resistance they encountered and pave the way for the full invasion of Earth. At the other end, the humans weren't as numerous, but they had something the Empire did not fully understand: creativity. The human fleet consisted of a few hundred ships, mostly smaller and more agile than the Empire's, but they were led by experienced commanders who had trained for moments like this. The human ships were armed with newly developed weapons designed specifically to target the weaknesses in the Empire's ships. They knew the Empire's ships had strong armor, but their engines and power cores were vulnerable. They also knew that the Empire relied heavily on overwhelming firepower and brute force, something the humans could avoid with speed and clever tactics. Admiral Korath had no idea what to expect. His fleet approached the human space like a hammer coming down on a nail. He ordered the attack, and the first shots were fired. The Empire's ships launched waves of energy blasts, trying to break through the human defenses. But the humans were ready. As soon as the battle began, it became clear that this was no ordinary fight. The human ships darted and weaved through the attacks, their smaller size allowing them to move faster and with more precision. Some of the human ships were barely visible as they moved, using cloaking technology that the Empire hadn't accounted for. Korath's fleet struggled to keep up with the fast-moving targets, their weapons missing more often than they hit. The human fleet counterattacked with devastating force. Small groups of human ships used advanced energy weapons that blasted through the Empire's shields and caused the hulls of their ships to weaken. The Empire had never seen anything like it. The humans had developed weapons that could disable their energy shields with a single shot, rendering their enormous ships vulnerable. For the first time in years, the Empire's soldiers were unsure of their victory. Admiral Korath was furious. He hadn't expected the humans to put up such a fight, let alone have the technology to challenge his fleet. He ordered his ships to regroup, hoping to reorganize and crush the humans in one swift move. But the humans didn't give them a chance. The human commanders had learned to adapt quickly. As Korath's fleet reformed, the humans launched a series of rapid strikes, attacking from multiple angles at once. They moved too quickly for the Empire to track them all, and the damage they inflicted was more than Korath had anticipated. One by one, Empire ships began to fall. A heavy cruiser was struck by a concentrated blast from a human ship, its engines failing as the crew scrambled to escape. Another ship was disabled after its shields were drained by a series of precise shots from smaller human vessels. The Empire had underestimated the humans' ability to target their weaknesses. The battle, which was supposed to be a one-sided massacre, was now a chaotic skirmish, with the Empire struggling to maintain control. Korath realized that this wasn't going according to plan. He had expected to crush the humans in minutes, but hours had passed, and his fleet was suffering unexpected losses. His warships, so massive and powerful, were being outmaneuvered and outsmarted by a fleet that was smaller and less advanced in comparison. The humans didn't have the size or firepower of the Empire, but they had something far more dangerous: the ability to think on their feet and never back down. The battle continued for hours, with both sides taking heavy losses. In the end, the Empire was forced to retreat, their once proud fleet damaged and in disarray. Korath, who had expected an easy victory, was left to lick his wounds and regroup. He broadcasted a message to the Emperor, reporting the unexpected results of the battle. "We underestimated them," Korath admitted, his voice filled with frustration. "These humans, They are not like the others we've conquered. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated their victory. But the mood was far from one of triumph. The humans knew that this was just the beginning. The Galactic Empire would not give up so easily. The battle they had won was only the first of many, and they would have to be ready for what came next. But for the moment, they had sent a message to the Empire. Humanity was not to be taken lightly. The warning had been clear. We warned you to run. The Empire hadn't listened, and now they would pay the price. The Empire's retreat from human space was temporary. Though humiliated by their first loss, they were determined to regain control. Admiral Korath, having underestimated the humans in their first encounter, quickly began preparations for the next stage of their campaign. The Empire's leaders believed they had the power to crush the humans once and for all. After all, they had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy without much resistance. But this time, things would be different. In the Emperor's command chamber, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Emperor Zorath, the cold and calculating ruler of the Galactic Empire, glared at the reports coming in from Korath. The news of their defeat at the hands of the humans was a blow to his pride, and he would not allow it to stand. He knew the humans had proven themselves resourceful, but he believed that brute force and sheer numbers would ultimately overwhelm them. "Prepare the fleet," Zorath ordered. "We will not allow this rebellion to continue. Dispatch everything we have. We will destroy the humans, and we will make them understand that resistance is futile." The Empire's fleet, vast and powerful, was now being mobilized for a full-scale invasion. Korath was given control of an even larger armada, including new warships that had been specially designed for the task at hand. These ships were equipped with devastating weapons, capable of obliterating entire planets if necessary. The Emperor was sending his best warriors, including elite soldiers known as the Legion of the Eternal Flame, to ensure that humanity would fall in the coming confrontation. Meanwhile, on Earth and across the human colonies, the news of the Empire's next move spread quickly. Humanity's victory in the first battle was celebrated, but there was no time for complacency. The Empire would not be easy to defeat. The human leaders, aware of the Empire's overwhelming strength, understood that their only chance was to outthink their enemies and outlast them. The human military commanders, including General Anna Hayes, who had played a crucial role in organizing the first defense, immediately began preparing for the Empire's second assault. They knew they had to be ready for whatever the Empire threw at them. The humans couldn't match the Empire's numbers, but they could match their determination. General Hayes and her team began working on new tactics and strategies, hoping to gain an edge over the Empire's might. Human ingenuity was their greatest strength. While the Empire relied on overwhelming firepower and brute force, the humans had already begun developing new technologies. Their scientists worked day and night, creating new weapons that could disrupt the Empire's shields and energy systems. Ships were retrofitted with improved cloaking devices, and new drones were designed to launch surprise attacks on enemy supply lines and weak spots in the Empire's fleet. The humans also forged alliances with other alien species who had suffered under the Empire's rule. These species, once too afraid to act, now saw an opportunity to strike back. They joined forces with the humans, contributing ships, technology, and knowledge. Together, they formed a coalition that was greater than the sum of its parts. As the Empire's fleet moved toward the human colonies, the first signs of the coming battle appeared on the horizon. The humans, despite their best efforts, knew they could not win a direct confrontation with the Empire's overwhelming strength. But they were ready to make the fight difficult for their enemies. The Empire had come to wipe them out, but the humans would make sure they paid dearly for every inch they gained. The Empire's massive fleet entered human space, its sheer size overwhelming. The ships glowed with the eerie light of their powerful engines as they moved in formation, ready to strike. Korath, commanding the fleet from the lead ship, observed the vast expanse of enemy territory ahead. He believed that this time, the humans would have no chance. The full power of the Empire was now at his command, and he was determined to make sure humanity paid the price for their resistance. However, as the Empire advanced, they found that humanity's defenses were stronger than expected. The human ships, though smaller and fewer, were more agile, and they used the terrain of space to their advantage. The battle was a chaotic dance, with the human fleet darting in and out of asteroid fields, using their environment to hide their movements and launch surprise attacks. The Empire's advanced sensors struggled to track the fast-moving ships. In response, Korath unleashed his fleet's full firepower, bombarding the human defenses with waves of energy blasts. But the humans, using their new technologies, countered these attacks with ease. Their shields absorbed the blasts, and their counterstrikes were accurate and devastating. Human ships struck with surgical precision, hitting the Empire's vulnerable spots. Some of the Empire's warships were crippled by human missiles, their engines disabled by expertly aimed shots. Though the Empire's fleet was still far larger, the humans' tactics were beginning to make an impact. For the first time, Admiral Korath felt the pressure of the battle. The humans were not caving in. They fought with a fierceness that even the Empire had not anticipated. Human forces continued to target the Empire's weak points, its supply lines, energy cores, and communication systems. Every successful strike chipped away at the Empire's overwhelming advantage. The Empire's soldiers, though highly trained and equipped with the best technology, began to realize that this war would not be won easily. Humanity, once thought weak, was proving to be a far more formidable opponent than anyone had imagined. As the battle raged on, Korath's frustration grew. He had expected the humans to fold, but they had only grown stronger. The Empire's fleet had not yet been defeated, but the cost of victory was rising. The Empire had come to destroy humanity, but instead they were discovering that this fight would not be as easy as they had hoped. The battle raged on as humanity's defenses continued to surprise the Galactic Empire. Despite the massive size and strength of the Empire's fleet, the humans were showing that they were not the easy targets the Empire had assumed. Each skirmish, each encounter, brought a new lesson for the Empire. The humans had something the Empire could not predict: adaptability. Admiral Korath, who had once been so confident in his ability to crush humanity, was beginning to feel the pressure. His fleet, though still larger and more powerful, was becoming increasingly disorganized. The humans, with their smaller and faster ships, seemed to be everywhere at once, striking from unexpected angles, and retreating before the Empire's overwhelming firepower could even target them. It was clear now that the Empire had misjudged humanity's potential. While they had relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, the humans had used their ingenuity and speed to compensate for their smaller forces. The Empire's tactics, once foolproof against other species, were being turned against them. The humans were masters of unpredictability, and the Empire was struggling to keep up. The Empire's advanced technology, which had once seemed invincible, was beginning to show cracks. The human fleet had developed a series of countermeasures that rendered many of the Empire's weapons less effective. The Empire's energy shields, once impervious to most attacks, were now being drained by a new kind of human weapon: a pulse cannon designed to weaken the shields before delivering a more devastating strike. Korath's warships, once protected by the strongest energy barriers, were now vulnerable to a new kind of attack that they had never encountered before. As the days passed, the Empire's commanders were forced to admit that the humans were proving to be more resourceful than they had thought. The reports coming in from the front lines told of human ships slipping through the Empire's defenses, attacking supply lines, and striking at key installations with precision. The humans weren't just fighting. They were learning, adapting, and growing stronger with every encounter. On the human side, General Anna Hayes knew that they could not win this war through sheer force alone. The Empire's military was too large, and their ships were too powerful. But the humans had something else on their side: the element of surprise. They had mastered the art of guerrilla warfare in the vast expanse of space. The Empire's ships, despite their firepower, had never been designed to fight against the kind of hit-and-run tactics the humans were employing. Humanity had learned the art of patience. They didn't need to win every battle. They needed to make the Empire pay for every inch of ground it took. Every Empire ship destroyed was a victory. Every resource that was lost to the humans weakened the Empire's ability to sustain the war. The longer the battle dragged on, the more the Empire's advantages shrank. Human colonies that had once been vulnerable were now fortified with new defenses. Cities on distant planets had been reinforced with underground bunkers, and human fleets were ready for battle at a moment's notice. The humans had learned to use their environment to their advantage. Whether it was hiding among asteroid fields, navigating through dense nebulae, or using cloaking technology to disappear from Empire sensors, the humans made sure the Empire was always chasing shadows. In one particularly daring move, human forces launched a surprise attack on an Empire shipyard that was responsible for building new warships. They had managed to infiltrate the heavily guarded site with a fleet of stealth ships, disabling the Empire's production capabilities with surgical precision. The Empire had once believed their supply lines were invulnerable, but the humans had found a way to cripple them. Koreth's frustration reached new heights. His fleet had taken heavy losses, and the human attacks were showing no signs of slowing down. Each time he thought he had them cornered, they managed to slip away, striking somewhere else. The Empire's elite forces, the Legion of the Eternal Flame, had been deployed in an effort to crush the human resistance, but even they were finding it difficult to keep up with the humans' unpredictable tactics. The Empire's leadership began to realize the scope of the problem. Their immense fleet, while powerful, was designed for large-scale battles against weaker species. The humans, however, fought with the cunning and flexibility that the Empire had never encountered. They were turning the tables, using the Empire's own strength against them. The humans were proving that intelligence and innovation could sometimes overcome raw power. As the war dragged on, more alien species began to take notice of the humans' resilience. Species that had once been too fearful of the Empire's wrath now saw the humans as a beacon of hope. Some of these species began to send aid, whether it was in the form of supplies, technology, or even military support. The Empire, already stretched thin by the ongoing conflict with humanity, now had to deal with the possibility of a growing coalition of enemies. The tide of war was shifting, and the Empire's leadership was starting to realize that their once unshakable dominance was no longer certain. Humanity had turned the fight into something they had never anticipated, a war of endurance, adaptability, and willpower. And the Empire had underestimated just how powerful the human spirit could be. General Hayes stood on the command deck of her flagship, looking out at the stars. The humans had not won yet, but the battle was far from over. The Empire had come to destroy them, but humanity had found a way to fight back. They had the advantage now, and they would not let it slip away. The Empire had made a mistake in thinking humanity could be easily crushed. Now they would learn that the true strength of humanity lay not in their weapons, but in their unyielding determination to survive. The war between humanity and the Galactic Empire had reached a tipping point. Despite the vast difference in power, the humans had fought tirelessly, using every trick, every tactic, and every bit of ingenuity they had. The Empire had grown frustrated, their once confident approach faltering under the constant pressure from the humans. Each victory the Empire claimed felt hollow as it was followed by another devastating blow. The humans weren't just surviving. They were fighting back with everything they had. The Emperor, Zoreth, had spent months dealing with reports of the Empire's losses. His once mighty fleet had been chipped away, piece by piece, and even more troubling, human allies from different species had begun to rally to their cause. This was no longer just a battle between the Empire and humanity. It had become a war that threatened the very foundation of the Galactic Empire. Zoreth knew he had to act decisively. His advisors pushed for a full-scale invasion of Earth. They believed that if they could seize the human homeworld, it would break the humans' will to fight. Once Earth was taken, they believed, the rest of the human colonies would fall in line. The Emperor ordered the final assault to be prepared. The human leaders knew the Empire was planning its most powerful strike yet. They had intercepted the messages about the invasion of Earth, and General Anna Hayes was fully aware of the stakes. If they couldn't defend their homeworld, everything would be lost. But Earth had become a symbol of resistance, and humanity's determination to protect it was stronger than ever. General Hayes and her team had spent weeks planning for this moment. They knew the Empire was coming with their most powerful ships, and they had to be ready for it. The human fleet, though still smaller in number, had been reinforced with new weapons, better armor, and advanced technology from their growing coalition of alien allies. The humans had become masters of unconventional warfare, and they knew the battle ahead would be their hardest yet. We've faced them in the shadows, we've struck at their weak points, but this is different, General Hayes said, addressing her commanders. We will fight with everything we have, because we know what's at stake. Earth is not just a planet. It's the heart of our resistance. We will hold it. As the Empire's fleet approached Earth, the humans prepared for the final showdown. Earth's defenses had been strengthened, with orbital stations ready to assist the human fleet in space. But the key to humanity's survival lay not just in their ships, but in their unity. Every colony, every human, no matter where they lived, had come together to protect their world. This wasn't just the defense of a planet. It was the defense of their future, their way of life, and the spirit of humanity itself. The battle began as the Empire's fleet descended toward Earth. Korath, leading the Empire's forces, was certain this time the humans would fall. His fleet had been reinforced with ships designed to break any defense, including the long-feared Dreadnought-class vessels. These massive ships were equipped with devastating weapons capable of obliterating entire cities with a single strike. However, the humans were prepared. As the first waves of Empire ships approached Earth, human forces launched a fierce counterattack. The human fleet, though smaller, was now faster and more agile than ever. Their ships darted in and out of the battle, using their advanced cloaking devices to remain hidden from the Empire's sensors. The Empire's massive ships fired their deadly weapons, but they often missed their targets as the humans expertly evaded the blasts. Despite the Empire's power, the humans fought back with everything they had. The humans used their knowledge of the Empire's tactics against them. While the Empire relied on overwhelming firepower, the humans used precision strikes and guerrilla tactics. They launched surprise attacks from the shadows, striking vital points on the Empire's ships and causing chaos within their ranks. On Earth's surface, the citizens watched in awe as the battle raged above them. The skies were filled with flashes of energy as the Empire's warships and human vessels collided. But despite the destruction, the humans held strong. Their resolve was unbreakable. They would not let the Empire take their home. As the battle continued, a human fleet led by General Hayes' flagship managed to slip past the Empire's defenses and infiltrate the Empire's command ship. The heart of the Empire's forces was exposed, and the humans knew that this was their chance. They launched a daring assault on the command ship, disabling its weapons and communication systems. The Empire's ability to coordinate its forces was severely weakened. In the chaos that followed, the humans saw their opportunity. They launched a final, coordinated strike against the Empire's remaining ships. With the Empire's command ship disabled, the once mighty fleet began to fall apart. The Empire's forces were disoriented, and the humans seized the moment. Admiral Korath, once confident of his victory, now found himself in a losing battle. His fleet was being torn apart, and his best warriors were falling in battle. He tried to rally his forces, but the humans were relentless. Every strike the humans delivered weakened the Empire's grip on Earth. In a final desperate move, Korath attempted to launch a devastating weapon, a planet-destroying bomb, from one of the dreadnoughts. But before he could activate it, a group of human ships intercepted and destroyed the ship carrying the weapon, preventing its launch. With the Empire's fleet in retreat, the humans had won. They had not only defended Earth, but had delivered a crushing blow to the Empire's forces. The Emperor, in his rage, ordered a full retreat, but it was too late. The humans had proven that their will to fight was stronger than any force the Empire could bring. General Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring out at the stars. The battle was over, but the war was not won. The humans had given the Empire a taste of their strength, but the fight was far from finished. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity once again, and now humanity had proven that no matter the odds, they would never give up, never surrender, and never stop fighting for their future. The victory at Earth had been a turning point in the war. The Galactic Empire had been forced to retreat, but they were not defeated. Emperor Zorith, still reeling from the humiliation, was determined to strike back. He gathered his most trusted generals and advisors in the dark, quiet halls of his palace to discuss their next move. The Emperor was not a ruler to admit defeat lightly. He had underestimated humanity once, and it had cost him dearly. Now he vowed to make sure that humanity would pay the price for their rebellion. "We will crush them once and for all," Zorith declared, his voice cold and filled with fury. "The humans believe they have won a battle, but they have no idea what is coming. Prepare the fleet. We will go to their colonies and wipe them out, starting with the most critical targets." The Empire's fleet, though battered, was still one of the most powerful in the galaxy. Zorith knew that if he struck quickly and decisively, he could bring the humans to their knees. The Empire's next move would be swift and brutal. No more playing games. This time, they would show the humans the true meaning of power. While the Empire prepared its forces, the humans were not resting on their victory. General Anna Hayes knew the war was far from over. The Empire's retreat had given them a brief respite, but the danger had not passed. The humans had won a battle, but they had to win the war. The Empire would not give up, and neither would humanity. The human coalition, made up of Earth's colonies and the alien species who had joined their cause, was now working together to strengthen their defenses. Humanity's resilience was beginning to shine through. But General Hayes knew that they couldn't fight the Empire with just their strength. They had to be clever, creative, and above all, prepared. "We've won one battle, but we need to be ready for what's next," General Hayes said to her officers. "The Empire will come back stronger than ever. We need to continue developing new technologies and refine our strategies. Every colony must be ready to defend itself, and we must stand together." Hayes knew the Empire would not just target Earth this time. They would go after the human colonies, the planets that were vital to the human war effort. The humans needed to strengthen their defenses across the galaxy. Ships, weapons, and technology were being manufactured faster than ever before. The humans were using the time they had to prepare for the inevitable second wave. On the Empire's side, Zorith unleashed his next plan. A massive offensive targeting the most important human colonies, the ones that were producing the weapons and resources that powered humanity's resistance. The Empire would strike quickly, aiming to disrupt human supply lines and destroy their manufacturing capabilities. The Empire was confident that these decisive strikes would cripple humanity's ability to fight back. Korath, still seething from his defeat, was once again put in charge of the Empire's fleet. He was determined to avenge the loss at Earth and put an end to humanity's defiance. The Empire's elite forces, the Legion of the Eternal Flame, were once again dispatched to ensure that the humans' defenses would not hold. As the Empire's fleet prepared to move, General Hayes watched from her command center as intelligence reports came in. The Empire's next move was clear: target the colonies, cripple their resources, and break the human spirit. But the humans had learned from their previous victory. This time, they were ready. The human colonies were on high alert, and the humans had adapted quickly to the Empire's tactics. One by one, the Empire's ships entered human space, their massive silhouettes casting shadows over the colonies. But the humans were not intimidated. They had fortified their planets, developed new weapons, and most importantly, they had learned how to fight smart. They had learned from their earlier victories and mistakes. The first attack came on a mining colony in the Outer Rim, a key supplier of the materials needed for the war effort. The Empire's fleet descended in overwhelming force, hoping to crush the colony quickly and efficiently. But the humans had already anticipated this move. They had laid a trap, using decoy ships and hidden defenses to lure the Empire's forces into a position where they could strike. As the Empire's fleet engaged the decoys, human ships launched surprise attacks from hidden positions, disabling key Empire ships and causing chaos in their ranks. The humans had perfected their guerrilla tactics, using their knowledge of the terrain and their speed to outmaneuver the Empire. The humans didn't engage the Empire head-on. They targeted weak spots, attacked supply lines, and launched surprise raids on the Empire's ships. Korath, furious at the unexpected resistance, ordered a full retreat. The humans had once again made it clear that they were not to be underestimated. But this was only one battle. The Empire would not stop. They would come back with even more force. The humans knew this, and they were preparing for the next wave of attacks. Back at their headquarters, General Hayes and her officers watched the reports come in. The Empire's retreat was only temporary. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. Every victory the humans achieved was a message to the Empire. Humanity would not back down. "We've got their attention," Hayes said, standing in front of the holographic map of the galaxy. "Now we need to make sure we don't lose the momentum. We have to keep striking, keep pushing back. The Empire will keep coming, but we'll be ready. We will show them that humanity won't be defeated." The war was entering a new phase. The Empire was determined to end it, but the humans were determined to survive. As the two forces prepared for the next clash, one thing was clear. The Empire had underestimated humanity once again, and this time, the cost of underestimating them might be their downfall. The war had dragged on for months. Humanity had faced every challenge, every obstacle the Empire had thrown their way, and each time they had fought back. They had proved their resilience, their determination, and most importantly, their ability to adapt and learn. But now, after countless battles, the final confrontation was at hand. The Empire's vast fleet had gathered its remaining strength for a last, desperate assault. If they didn't crush humanity now, they knew they would lose everything. Emperor Zorath stood in his command center, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. His forces were assembling, but even he could sense the shift. The Empire had underestimated the humans from the start. And now, they were facing the consequences. The human resistance had not only survived, but it had grown stronger with every battle. Zorath knew this would be their final chance. "The humans will fall today," Zorath said, his voice filled with cold certainty. "We will bring their rebellion to an end. They will know what it means to face the power of the Empire." Korath, now more determined than ever, stood by his side. The Admiral had led the Empire's forces through many battles, but even he had begun to doubt the outcome. The humans had shown an unexpected depth of strength and strategy. They had turned the tables at every turn. But now, the Empire's most powerful ships were ready. The humans would have no way to escape this time. Across the galaxy, General Anna Hayes and her commanders were preparing for the final battle. The time for hiding in shadows and using guerrilla tactics was over. The Empire was coming in full force, and the humans would face them head-on. Every human fleet, every colony, every ally had to stand together. It would be a fight for survival, a fight for the future of humanity. "The Empire is coming," General Hayes said as she addressed her troops. "But we've been ready for this moment. We've fought hard to protect our colonies, to protect Earth. Now we will fight to win. This ends today. We will show the Empire that humanity cannot be broken." The final battle began as the Empire's fleet approached the human stronghold in the Outer Rim. The human forces were waiting, their ships arrayed in a defensive formation. The two fleets met in the vastness of space, a deadly dance of energy blasts and ship movements. The Empire, as always, relied on its sheer firepower, but the humans fought with cunning and speed, exploiting every weakness the Empire had. Human ships darted in and out of the battle, striking at key targets with precision. They targeted the Empire's largest ships first, hoping to cripple the fleet's ability to coordinate. The humans knew they couldn't match the Empire's firepower, but they could outmaneuver them. Each Empire ship that fell was a blow to their confidence. Koreth, leading the attack, ordered his ships to focus on the human flagship, the heart of the resistance. If they could destroy General Hayes' ship, it would break the human command structure. But the humans were prepared. They had planned for this exact scenario. General Hayes watched as the Empire's forces closed in on her ship. She knew the stakes. If she fell, it could be the end for humanity. But she had faith in her crew, in the human spirit. They had come so far, and they would not falter now. As the Empire's ships surrounded them, she gave the order to launch a devastating counterattack. All ships engage the enemy. Protect the flagship at all costs. Hayes commanded, her voice steady and filled with resolve. The battle intensified. Empire ships were struck by blasts of energy and the force of human weapons. The humans, though outnumbered, fought with everything they had. They had no choice. Earth, their home, their colonies, and their future were all on the line. They could not afford to lose. In the heart of the battle, a daring move by the human fleet managed to disable the Empire's lead dreadnought. With their largest ship disabled, the Empire's forces began to falter. The humans had struck at their leadership, and now the Empire was in disarray. Koreth struggled to regain control of his fleet, but it was too late. The humans had seized the momentum. The tide of battle turned as human ships surrounded the remaining Empire forces. The once feared Empire fleet was now a shell of its former self. The humans had broken through, and the Empire's ships were retreating in chaos. The battle that had begun with such overwhelming power for the Empire was now ending in a stunning reversal. The Empire had lost the initiative, and it was clear that humanity would not be defeated. Admiral Koreth, realizing the battle was lost, ordered a full retreat, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Humanity had struck at the heart of the Empire's military might, and the loss of so many ships was a blow from which they could not recover. On the ground, Earth's citizens watched the battle unfold in the skies. As the last Empire ships fled, a cheer rose up from every corner of the world. Humanity had won. They had faced the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known and had emerged victorious. The war was over. The Empire had been defeated. General Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at the retreating Empire fleet. She felt the weight of the victory, but she also knew the cost. Thousands of lives had been lost in the battle, yet they had proven something. The humans had proven that no force in the galaxy, no matter how powerful, could crush their will. They had faced overwhelming odds and had triumphed. "We did it," Hayes said softly. "Humanity is free." The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not a species to be underestimated. They had fought with everything they had, and in the end, they had won. The Empire had fallen, and humanity's future was bright. The war had ended, but the story of humanity's rise had only just begun.